Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
I don't know if you want to go back to that person.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome to the show. This is another episode of Off Field. I'm your host, Liv Moods. This is BK. That is Nate Jackson.
That's me.
And happy post-Halloween here. I have a cauldron of bad decisions floating around in my stomach at the moment, unfortunately.
right?
Yeah.
Can you describe some of those?
Laffy Taffy?
I think it was a little too much of everything. We hosted a little party and we got in and out for everybody. So I had a lot of burgers.
Did your invite get lost in the mail? Mine got lost in the mail.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I didn't think you guys would want to come hang out with a bunch of 20-something-year-olds.
What is that? What are you saying? That we're just that?
You guys
that
talk about
lame?
old people stuff on the show so
Listen,
much that I didn't think that
Liv,
you'd want to be young and hip.
If you
for the night.
brought me to your 20-something cool person party, they would all be like, "This dude is the coolest dude around."
I know that for a fact.
Yeah, it'd be like
So,
when dads show up at dad's week and they buy all the drinks and they tell great stories.
I'll be the last one drinking. I'll be the last one partying.
100%.
I'll be the guy that's the life of the party. Liv, give me a shot.
I don't doubt that. And I've actually had BK over for a housewarming party,
that
and he was fun.
I can certainly
Again,
hold
he
on to
wouldn't shut up.
conversation.
No.
No, he was great. Actually, all of my family was like, they
I'm
were very
fine.
fond of him.
I'm fine at a party. That's because you can move person to person. So you
Yeah,
don't spend too
you,
much
I have to
time.
go to the
Yeah.
bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fill up my beer. Just
I
chug your
know
beer.
when it's been a little too long, so I can move on. So I can just tell the same stories like a comedian that goes city to city.
That's right.
Speaking of Adam Caden Holland, who's a Denver comedian, who I'm sure your friend Scott knows, he had a bit the other day about how parents of young kids party so much harder than they did in their 20s or 30s. Because in your 20s or 30s, or depending on when you have them, you're just having a rough Thursday night Thanksgiving party or Halloween party. Like, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Versus when you have kids, you're like, all right, we got to sit it for 6 hours, so we're gonna go have 10
Very
drinks,
different.
Yeah.
and do whatever.
The
else.
problem is when the kid
Is it-
wakes up at 3 a.m.
No, it's brutal.
Yeah.
But for the defined time that you're allowed to be out, you take full advantage because it feels so fleeting.
Like,
Versus you can do whatever you want tonight.
my
or
alarm
tomorrow.
went off this morning, and it was one of those where I peeled my eyes open and I was like, what do I have today?
Off
Like
the
I was
wheel.
and then I was like, I've got my shows, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk some freaking football. We've got some interesting games on the slate. I talked a little bit about some of them in the daily update this morning. I talked about how I think the Packers might be a nice underdog this week against the Lions.
How hurt is Jordan Love?
How
hurt?
hurt? Oh.
I did have somebody on the morning show
What
this
you meant.
morning say that they didn't know
What's
if
his
he was
injury?
his groin,
Oh.
I guess. So I don't
That's
know.
the type of
That
injury
one's
you
tough.
could play with. You get it nice and warmed up. You're a quarterback. You don't think you're going to be moving too much. I mean, your drop. When you're doing your drop, you're testing it and challenging it, but you can get nice and warmed up. There's a lot of things you can put on that area to keep it tight and warmed up, and then go out there and make it happen. I would imagine he'll play.
I hope so.
I bet he plays. It's how limited is he in terms of being able
Mobility.
mobility wise to run, to extend plays, because Jordan Love's not a runner, but he can run to get first downs.
Yeah.
And was it last year that Detroit finally snapped the streak and won in Green Bay, or did Green Bay still beat them? Whatever it was.
Their most recent game, Green Bay won, and then the 4 before that. I was just looking at the last
Okay,
5
so
to
the Lions
5.
have won a few in Lambeau.
Yeah.
We still know what a home field advantage Lambeau can be. Detroit's just a really good team, so that is a fun game. There's a couple of home dogs this week that are worth taking, including. Oh no! Last night the Jets were favored. Which
They
I
were
think
favored. Yeah.
surprised people. I forgot to
What
get my
a
pick
play
in.
by Garrett Wilson. Wow.
I'm not sure it was a
The-
catch. I'm just kidding. Once it was, that was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
It was stunning.
When I see a catch like that, I'm torn between like being in awe of a great play and also not wanting Aaron Rodgers to win. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
Absolutely.
God, I mean, he played well last night, particularly in the second half. Didn't play well in the first half, but the fact that that play was made, the football fan of me is like, that's amazing. But then I'm like, no.
Here's one thing I learned at the Halloween party last night is that when I drink, normally I'm not afraid to say anything. We had a Jets fan in our house, and I learned very quickly that with enough sangria, I will spend way too much time talking about how Aaron Rodgers
Is a piece of shit.
that's one way to
we
put
were
it.
at a little neighborhood. We have some friends that every year have a Halloween party drop in, like just stop by as you're trick or treating, right? Hang out, don't hang out. So because my mom was in town after trick or treating, little ones hung at the house, so we got to actually hang out a little more and watch the game. And I was obviously kind of in the kitchen where the main TV is in the living room, near the TV more than maybe other party goers. So I was aware of what was going on in the game. But the amount of people that would come in and be like, man, I just don't like Rodgers. God, is Rodgers good? Like, there was multiple people, and it wasn't fantasy football related. It wasn't a Packers thing. They just don't like Aaron Rodgers because
JJ Watt doesn't even like him anymore. Did you see that thing? JJ Watt was on Pat McAfee, and he was talking shit about Aaron Rodgers, making fun of him. He's
right to Rodgers' bestie.
Yeah,
Pat.
he's like, come on. He's like, why are we talking? They're 2-6. Why are we even talking about it? Like, this is a joke. Because Aaron Rodgers had talked about putting cayenne pepper in his water to deal with pain and inflammation. And JJ Watt's like, why don't you sprinkle some of that cayenne pepper on your playbook? Maybe you guys will play better. Like, he was really fucking with him. It's pretty funny.
Fantastic.
But I'm going to go the other way on, like, Aaron Rodgers, the foil is, I think, and the Jets being interesting is better for football than them being terrible. Like last year, they were an afterthought and Rodgers was still just annoying. Them playing and figuring out a way to potentially get into like the wild card race. I don't want to see them get in at the Broncos' expense. And now the Broncos obviously have a head-to-head win over them. But them playing interesting, meaningful football in December is better, I think, for the NFL.
You don't want to peak too early. We've talked about that on the show. Maybe.
Especially because the Cowboys are garbage and they keep making us talk about the Cowboys.
The 3-6 now, though, the Jets are, so they'd have to win basically 7 of their next 8 to get in. I don't think 9 and 8's going to get you in. I think you got to be 10 and 7. So they're going to have to win 7 of 8. That's not easy. Well, but they are on prime time like 6 times because of Aaron Rodgers. You know, and look,
Devontae Adams makes them more interesting.
There,
Garrett Wilson,
the
whole debacle with Saleh and going from a defensive coach to the defensive coordinator, the play calling, it's good television.
They've got winnable games on their schedule. I can tell you that. Cardinals, Colts, Seahawks, Dolphins.
Wow.
Dolphins
Where's the Seahawks?
What are the other ones?
Seahawks is in New York.
Okay.
In New Jersey.
What are the other games, though?
Jags, Rams, Bills, and Dolphins again.
Wow.
I mean, they've got some winnable stuff.
Yeah, they could win.
So they really
could win
could.
7 of 8 if they get
they
hot,
really
right?
could.
I heard somebody ask the question today, would you shut Tua down as soon as Miami's out of playoff contention?
Well, no. I mean, so you don't care about his brain if you're in playoff contention? I mean, that sends the fucking worst message possible. You should be healthy enough to play football regardless of whether or not you're in the playoff hunt or not.
And they're paying him, and he wants to play. He's not playing just for money. He loves playing football.
That tells me you don't care about his health. All you care about is making the playoffs.
Yeah, but the team still had to, I mean, he was signed off by an independent doctor, so unless
why shut him down then?
To, I think, protect him from himself so that he's healthy next year, that there's no other incident, and you have your $160 million or whatever, $250 million quarterback ready and healthy.
I think that sends a pretty bad message.
Maybe so. I mean, guys get shut down, but it's usually late.
When have you ever seen anybody get shut down for multiple games when they're considered healthy prior to that?
Yeah, unless
like
you're
trying to trade
thing, or like the Keyshawn deal where in Tampa
or Russell.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago here,
where you're protecting him against. Well, there's that too, the injury thing. Like, he's been cleared, so concussions will now not keep him out of football.
Right.
But if he rips his leg out, but then the Dolphins would be on the hook for that money.
His leg out.
I'm saying like Napoleon Kaufman style.
Just out of the socket.
Napoleon like
rips
Bo Jackson, like devastating injury where they're now on the hook for the rest of the money or 105 million, whatever. So there is that consideration.
Scott making funny faces at me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, so we've got some interesting games this week. I mentioned the Packers-Lions game. I feel like that's a good spot to maybe back the Packers there if you get a healthy Jordan Love. Obviously, all things considered there.
You're a Packer backer in that game?
What?
What is it?
Back the Packers?
I'm backing the Packers.
You're a Packer backer in this game.
1.5 or 2.5?
2.5.
Okay.
Lions are favored by 2.5.
Okay. I think the Lions are going to win this game.
I think they'll cover.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but I also we do have another one on the slate that I feel like I normally would not lay the points with the favorite, but I want to lay the points with the Bills. The Bills have had the Dolphins number for some time now, and I just don't think Tua can save this Dolphins team. Now, that being said, I do think that it could be a high-scoring affair, and Tua finds his receivers, and it's a back and forth situation. But I think ultimately the better team here is the Bills, and they have dominated.
Where's this game played?
Believe it's
in Buffalo. That's why I was looking to check the weather, because this is one of those.
Yeah, they don't play well on the road. They don't play well in cold weather.
But it's not that cold yet. That's what they've gone there in December a lot.
They still just don't play well on the road.
Yeah,
they play well at home.
And then the other game that I talked about this morning was The Cowboys taking on the Falcons. To
Oh.
me, this is the Cowboys' opportunity to prove that there is something there.
Mhm.
And this is the moment that the Cowboys either show us that they're contenders or pretenders against the Falcons team.
Haven't they already shown us that they're
Yes, but I'm giving them
pretenders?
one more opportunity.
Are you a Cowboys fan a little bit?
Hell no.
What's their record? Are they 3 and something? Or are they 4 and something? I mean, what?
I think being from Dallas, I should know this.
3 and 4.
They're 3. They had a bye last week.
They got, the Niners really ripped them up.
They are getting healthier. Deron Bland, the pick 6 machine from a year ago, is coming off IR. I think Micah's back there, or is about to be. They're getting healthier. The problem is Mike McCarthy's the worst coach in the NFL, and he's their coach. And so they're only going to be able to go so far. That game's in Dallas?
I think it is in Dallas. Let me check.
Atlanta's got some weapons.
No, it's
man.
not. It's in Atlanta.
Okay.
Atlanta's got some nice weapons on offense.
No question.
A really good young running back, Kyle Pitts, who's a tight end who could take the top off of defense, and then they got a lot of receivers producing
Of
right now.
course.
Well, Drake
That's what I'm
London,
saying.
yeah.
I think this is
Darnell
an important
Mooney.
game for the Cowboys to prove that there's something there.
And then Kirk Cousins is playing pretty good football.
We love it. Kirk
And
got that Atlanta swag now.
Their
I love
defense,
it.
you like that? Their defense is okay. They still have Grady Jarrett, who's 1 billion years old. I think they have Calais Campbell
Not
now.
a billion.
Billion. Wow.
Calais Campbell, who's actually, I think, younger than Grady Jarrett somehow. But then 2 really good safeties with Bates and obviously our guy Justin Simmons. So they're and
I
AJ
know.
Terrell. who
But
got
but
paid.
you know what's funny? You haven't heard any sort of longing for Justin Simmons.
Well,
this
he's
year.
ranked 42nd by your friends at Pro Football Focus compared to Brandon Jones, who I think is
Go,
3rd or
Brandon!
6th. I think he's 6th.
That's the thing. The
Go, Brandon.
Broncos secondary playing very well. And I don't know. It's almost like the way that defenses are structured now. The shell coverage that they're playing, not allowing anybody behind him, really making it a point to not let anyone behind you. The safety play doesn't seem quite as important. As long as you can come up and make tackles, that's really what it's about. You know, yes, interceptions are important and all that, but you're not getting a lot of chances to make picks down the field because they're not throwing the ball down the field.
Right.
So really, are you a sound tackler? Are you going to come up and put a thump on somebody? Justin Simmons doesn't really do that. He's not a thumper.
He's a sound tackler.
He's a sound tackler, but he's not a thumper. He's a rangy guy and he's very smart. But Brandon Jones is picking up right where he left off and playing really well.
Lamar Jackson back at practice today, worth noting.
Let's transition.
Stopping.
Let's dive into
Let's
the Broncos.
transition into the Broncos. I know that I talked to both of you separately for our little post-game live. This is also a really great opportunity for me to tell you guys that on Sunday, rather than having a post-game show, we are going to do a live watch-along right here in the studio, watching through the Baltimore Ravens and the Denver Broncos game. We'll probably have some food here. We'll be chilling. It'll be very casual, but we'll be live throughout the game, watching it alongside you, giving you commentary, hopefully making it a little more enjoyable, and hopefully watching the Broncos compete with the Ravens, despite the Broncos right now being, drum roll please, a 9.5 point underdog. Woo-wee!
That's offensive,
disrespectful.
Man. That is
That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
As
So during the game, should we take a tequila shot every time Bo Nix throws a touchdown? Would that be fun?
deep breath from
every
me.
time there's a touchdown?
Yeah. So it'd be, you take 3 shots, maybe 2 shots. I mean, 1,
I think we should.
maybe 4.
I mean, I can't think about that
5?
right now because that just
So
made
Dia
my
de los
stomach
Muertos
lift.
is on Saturday. As our,
there we
our
go.
friends in Mexico celebrate.
So yeah,
celebrate
tequila.
the dead.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I actually have a big old bottle I bought for the party last
Bring it
night,
up.
so I'll bring it in.
And it'll be sort of in the morning, so we could have tequila and donuts. Wouldn't that be fun?
I think we
Some
should get breakfast
OJ.
burritos instead.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
need like a
breakfast burritos.
chorizo, potato, egg.
Well, Santiago's is right down the street, but
Something like that.
there's a lot of places.
So
that
it's
we-
Taco de Mexico. That's
Yeah.
actually better. They have pretty good breakfast burritos.
I'm very much in favor of having savory over sweet for my breakfast.
Yeah, you're right.
Always.
I like both. I'm a both kind of guy.
You're like, give
course
me
you are.
a Belgian
Like-
waffle and
Some bacon and
chorizo.
eggs. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so 9.5 point underdog. The total here, 46.5. We know both of these defense. Well, actually, we know that the Broncos defense has been playing exceptionally well, and we know that the Ravens defense typically
no, they're
is
top.
a unit.
They're top 10 or top 5 in every category.
Who?
The Ravens do.
No, they're not. They're actually last in passing. Dead.
Okay,
last.
passing defense, but then.
But you
points
said every
allowed,
category.
Almost. I said in almost every category. I said almost.
Either way, I think that the Ravens defense, we have seen them look better.
They're
before.
really good run defense. They're really bad pass defense. They're
There we
giving up
go.
the most big plays through the air in the NFL. They're giving up the most passing yards per game in the NFL.
Yeah.
There's an
so I just
opportunity
think
there.
they've looked better before.
Yes.
The
agreed.
Broncos, to me, I I think I prefer the defense that the Broncos are bringing to the table right now. I think that the Broncos in this game have a defensive edge.
I agree with that. Broncos are playing well across the board. They don't really have a weakness right now.
Right.
And they're getting after the quarterback. They're sacking the quarterback a lot. Zach Allen's playing at a high level. The edge players are playing at a high level. I think they got 30 sacks or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the back end's playing really well. Riley Moss. We just talked about Brandon Jones. And obviously Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
And really that.
Ooh, PS2.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
gosh. A pick six from him would just do it for me.
And so you think about if Lamar Jackson is really kind of banged up, which he obviously is if he didn't practice Wednesday and Thursday. Because when you're the quarterback, you're the signal caller. You got to practice because everyone's feeding off of that, and you got to be, going through the reads and doing all this. And yes, Lamar knows what he's doing. He's the reigning MVP, but at the same time, you put in some new stuff, you put in some new wrinkles. You want your quarterback doing it. So today's his only opportunity to do that, and so you're going to get a less than 100% Lamar Jackson. Now you don't prepare for that. You prepare for him to be at his best, but maybe he's going to be a little bit easier to sack, a little bit easier to read. Maybe he won't have quite so much zip on his throws. Maybe this presents an opportunity for the Broncos defense to go out there and force some turnovers, for example. If the Broncos offense can protect the ball and then force some turnovers with the Ravens, I think they have a good shot of winning this game.
I don't know what I was looking at because, their defense, I need to rescind that other than they're the best run defense in football.
Defense is
that's
good,
pretty
for
good.
Sure.
Number one.
You're
they
not
only
gonna
give up like 69 yards a game.
you're not going to get a lot going there.
But you still got to try.
Really run the ball
but you still got to try. You still got to try.
But because they have the best offense in football, they've been able to pin their ears back, as they say, and they're fourth with 24 sacks, so they can get after it, which we know when you have a lead makes it easier.
Yep.
But I don't know if they don't have the elite, truly elite pat. Like they have Kyle Van Noy and guys like that, but they don't have, even when Matthew Judon was with them, he was playing kind of at an all-pro level, and other guys, they don't have an all-pro pass rusher.
Right. And also, the passing numbers, the running, those are skewed a little bit by how good this offense is, right? So if they go up by 2 scores against a team, well, they're going to have to throw to catch up, right? So they're not running the ball. They are focusing on the pass. But that said, as a Ravens D, that's happening, and you're still getting beat. You're still getting gashed. There's big plays happening to this Ravens D. So I think, I think that Sean Payton's going to want to press down the field. He's going to try that, and I think he should, because that's where they're weak. You want to hit them where they're weak. Now, it doesn't mean you abandon the run. You don't try to run the football. You have to do that as well. And sometimes, running the football is what opens up the pass. And so I see Sean Payton calling a balanced game, but really trying to uncork the cannon of Bo Nix.
Uncork it.
It's fun, though, to look at the Broncos numbers. I sent them over to our production team. We'll see if we were able to sneak them on air or not. But the Broncos really are top 10 in every category except for third down, and that number got so skewed the other way, although they did a good job of catching up against Carolina. But that Chargers game where Chargers were 11 of 14, that's going to send you the wrong direction. But they're 16th there, so they're still dead middle. But everywhere else, they're top 5 and or top 10 in every defensive category.
You did say every little. I can't see that one. He said, "Yeah, nice try." You didn't say almost.
I can't. Who can remember that?
He did not say almost. Nice try.
Well, I meant to say they're not good in almost any category defensively as I look at that. But I think your point is well taken, though, in that when you have the lead, teams aren't going to run on you.
Yeah.
And they are going to throw. But I think Marshawn Lattimore is maybe a little past his prime, overpaid there.
Yeah, isn't that who's the corner? Humphrey,
and
he's
then
banged
Humphrey,
up too, right?
Right, Marshawn Lattimore, he's that right? I'm not making that up. Marshawn Lattimore's in. Yeah, Humphrey. I'm getting my corners mixed up. Yeah, Bobby Humphrey's good. Marlon Humphrey, not Marshawn, and the other corner's not very good either, though. And their safeties, they have one of the best safeties in Kyle Hamilton, but the guy that plays next to him,
he's good. He's really good.
So the Broncos have the defensive edge in this one. I think we can absolutely say that with the most confidence. Now let's talk about the Broncos offense that we've seen make some strides over the course of this chunk of the season so far. We've seen a little bit of a better performance every week.
That's where I messed up.
Marcus Liv is talking. She's in the middle
Marcus
of talking.
Who?
I know that.
Former Saint. That's where I got my former Saints backwards, or my Saints backwards. I apologize.
Sometimes it's the light bulb can go on, but you don't have to speak.
Oh, and they did wrap the Wiggins kid out of Clemson. We can talk about it Sunday during the game.
Or you can just talk about it in your car when you leave by yourself.
To your dashboard. No, let's talk offense, though.
My mom's here. I'll just talk to her.
Let's talk.
She
Let's
cares
talk
about the
offense.
Ravens depth chart. Yeah, she's sitting over there.
Your mom is?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She's sitting in the makeup.
But yeah, let's talk offense now. We talk defense. I think the Broncos have the upside there. But we know that this Ravens offense is great. We know that Lamar Jackson, even when banged up, pretty great. So How are we feeling about I think you can give the edge to the Ravens in this one offensively.
Absolutely.
They're far more proven at this point in time. I think we've seen little nuggets of things that we like from this Broncos offense, but we got to see more, and we need to see it more consistently as well. How are we feeling about what the Broncos can do offensively in this game?
Yeah, I think BK's got those comparative statistics about the Ravens and the Broncos there, but I know the Ravens are the number one offense in the league. They're putting up 450 yards per game, roughly, a ton of points. They're moving the ball pretty much with ease, and so you talked about the Broncos defense. They're going to have to step up, but the Broncos offense is going to have to keep pace with that, and that's why I think it's important not to fall behind early, and maybe get a turnover in the first quarter, maybe capitalize on that, a big play early to establish a lead, right? So the Ravens have to play from behind. I think if they do that, the Broncos can, end up winning this game. I know it's kind of crazy with a 9.5 point spread there, but the Broncos, it's going to be similar to what it was before, spreading the ball around to a lot of different receivers, but there's going to have to be a couple of guys who step up and make big plays. And I'm talking about, Troy Franklin finally catching a deep ball, the ones that are going through his hands. Let's bring that in, Troy. Cortland Sutton breaking a tackle on an in cut and taking it 50 yards to the house, something like that. Devon Bailey, maybe even Marvin Mims stretching the field, or maybe a deep shot down the middle to Lucas Kroll or something, or maybe a running play. Jaleel goes off, catches a screen pass and goes 62 yards, something like that would silence the crowd, that would put the momentum back on the Broncos. But I think they're going to have a few big plays to win this game. It's not going to be like 8 yards here, 3 yards here, 4 yards there. They're going to have to pick up some chunks.
Yep.
The weather will not be a factor. If they were there today, it's 79 with abundant sunshine there in Charm City, but it's going to drop to the low 60s, mostly sunny Sunday, 62. So it should be a perfect day for football, no wind.
Nice.
And so weather won't affect either team. But you just look at the balance that they have with the Ravens, 200 yards rushing, which is a crazy stat in and of itself.
Per game, yeah.
But then they're also still throwing for 250. And Pat Surtain's talked about it a few times this week, and VJ talked about it as well, that you can't just sell out on the run because Lamar will hit you over the top. And now he has Deontay Johnson. We didn't see Deontay last week. What, if anything, will we see Deontay contribute? But you had him with Zay Flowers, with Bateman, and the two tight ends that are each 1A and 1B in terms, likely would be the best tight end on just about every team if he didn't have Mark Andrews with him.
Yeah,
right.
He likely would be. Yeah,
he likely would be.
But
no,
I think that's like sort of not an embarrassment of riches, but that's a lot of guys who you're trying to get the ball to. Sometimes that could be a little bit distracting. You get a guy like Deontay Johnson who comes in. Zay Flowers is the number one receiver there, and he's had a good season. Then you got Mark Andrews, who was the incumbent starter as a tight end and a all-around badass top 3 tight end, but he's fallen off, and now Isaiah Likely is coming on, and so they both want the ball as well. So as an offensive coordinator, where are you throwing the ball, and are you also trying to force it to a Deontay Johnson who just got here? You remember the Jets' first game with Devontae Adams? He didn't look good. He didn't look like he belonged out there because you're still trying to figure out where you fit in. What are my reads? What are these plays? I wouldn't imagine Deontay Johnson is heavily involved in this game plan. I think they're going to lean on Zay Flowers. They're going to lean on those two tight ends and maybe a little Rashad Bateman here and there, and then pound you with Derrick Henry. And by the way, Justice. Come on.
That's going to make you laugh?
Pound it.
Of all the things.
So
that's the alcohol laughing.
I know. No, it's not. You do this when you're not hungover too.
How do you know I'm not hungover every show?
That's a good point.
Well,
that is a
how do you know
very good point.
I don't
Based on
have
your
a
footwear?
wild drinking problem?
I don't
based
get
on
that sense from you, but things surprise you from time
No,
to
I don't
time.
have a drinking problem, but I will tell you, and the reason I know I don't is because my body is not cut out for this life at all.
Yeah, it's
I
hard.
drink and I'm immediately like, what was I thinking?
Did you eat it all? Like with the?
Oh, I was housing In-N-Out burgers
Oh,
all
that's
night.
right. You had it in and out.
Multiple.
Would you have the In-N-Out truck there? I mean, how many burgers did you get for a
No, we
Halloween
went to In-N-Out and we ordered 20 burgers
for how many people?
and we cut them in half
For
and we
10.
laid them out.
For 6
And no, there was probably around 20 people that ended
Okay.
up stopping by.
How
here
many
and there,
halves
but
did you get? Because we could do the math.
I
and
think
get
I
them.
had 3 halves, so I had a burger and a half.
Okay.
Nice. Double
crazy.
double
With
doubles or
lots,
singles?
and I made tater tots. It was a single.
Okay.
Made lots of tater tots. Had those. What else did I
Were they
eat?
soaked in alcohol or just regular tater tots?
They were just plain. Thank
Vodka
God.
infused
weren't
tater
infused?
tots.
And I made a little s'mores board with like those indoor fire pits. And
So
people
you
can
had
make
some sweet
s'mores.
stuff too.
I did have some
And then
sweet
you do
stuff
the
set out.
alcohol, and then it just kind of sits, and then
Yeah.
that's a hangover like recipe right
Yeah.
there.
And for lunch that day, I had a Jimmy John's. So I was trying to set
Okay.
myself up for success. You know,
What
get
Jimmy
some-
John's did you go with?
Number 16, the
Which-
Lulu.
Ooh,
And
I'm an
add
Italian nightclub
mustard,
guy.
add onion, and add peppers. Do it.
I'm number
dare.
9, Italian
They have
nightclub.
like a turkey club thing. I think their bread's too soft.
Too
I-
soft.
I used to hate their bread growing up, and now it's one of my favorites.
It's really good.
Because I'm also a sandwich has to be toasted girl.
Oh,
Okay.
Usually. But
Hmm.
then
I
I
think
go
it
to
depends on
Jimmy
the sandwich.
John's and I eat one. I'm elbow deep in that sandwich going,
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be toasted.
right.
Clearly.
They-
Because
they
this
don't
thing is
even
not
have-
toasted and I am not having a problem with it at all.
They don't have the ability to toast it there, even if you want it, right? They don't
don't think
toast your
so.
thing yet.
What do
That's
they have
just
like
not
just
their
like one of
thing.
those little like fire torches? Like
Yeah,
real
like the
quick.
creme brulee
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
Give it a little
they have
flame on the
kitchens.
top.
But I will say this: there is an efficiency there. They are both freaky fast. Well, they are freaky
Yeah.
fast. Freaky
Yeah.
good is relative. I
Yeah.
just don't think I don't love their bread.
And your hands definitely you smell like Jimmy John's after you eat Jimmy
Oh, yeah.
John's. It's like really kind
That's how In-N-Out is too.
yeah. Yeah.
Like eating
good way.
the burger and the fries. But yeah, it was I had
I thought I smelled a
food there.
combination of Jimmy John's and In-N-Out when I walked in here today.
And Reese's peanut butter cups.
didn't have those, so that must be you.
Were you guys getting trick or treaters
not?
during the party?
Believe it or not, we only got like 4 total groups of kids. So like maybe 10 kids total.
Yeah, because they probably go to.
So I think in our
adjacent
neighborhood, a
neighborhoods.
lot of them have grown up and are not
Yeah,
trick or treating anymore.
But it's also you want to go to a neighborhood where like you know, I'm sure you guys' properties are relatively large and the streets are
It's like
long,
5
stuff
acres,
like that. Like
10 acres.
you
I think.
probably want to like go to houses that are more condensed because you get more candy. Like you want to go to neighborhoods where
That's
there's
fair.
more.
I don't know if people think like that. I'm not saying that logic makes sense. I feel like people are like, where are their big houses that are also together?
because they'll be giving
You
big
know?
candy
Yeah.
bars.
yeah, like the full size. We
Yeah.
weren't doing all that, but I did like give the kids that came by like a big old handful.
Yeah.
So-
What kind of candy did you guys have?
We always do just like the mixture, like a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of nerds in there, some like the mix.
Yep.
But you know, there wasn't enough kids to even enjoy it.
Well, now you can enjoy it.
I went to
No,
Spirit
thank you.
Halloween to get glasses for my costume, and they have those big animatronics are on sale because they're going to be out the door by
Mhm.
tomorrow or whatever. So if you want to catch a deal for animatronics for next year to have big scary
Oh.
clowns or skeletons,
I
or,
don't mess with those at all.
but
they
they're
scare
like
the crap
they
out of
look
me.
like they're at least 25% off. So
Mm. You gonna pick one up?
we'll
You
see.
thinking about it? If you can convince your wife, that's a good idea.
I'm contemplating because our neighbor 2 doors down has a big skeleton thing that's like
Oh,
he
yeah.
got on sale a
Yeah.
couple years ago. It's 20 feet tall. So their
Those
house,
ones are cool. I do like
Those
their
are
those.
house-
cool, but where do
they-
you put it?
their storage.
Just the front.
basement.
No, I know, but come on.
It
Some
is
people have
big.
more storage
It's a lot.
than
Okay, so
you might in living in an more urban dwelling.
urban dwelling. There it
There's
is.
positives and negatives about suburbs. One of them is storage.
Yeah, that's true.
We've got a comment at the very bottom there that says, I think it will be a close game. Very entertaining. Broncos win 65-3.
Wow, 65-3 feels like a lot.
I think that might have been a mistake.
Can I ask a question though about the dichotomy here? Because when's the last time we saw a team that was favored by more than 12.5, and the next week they're almost double-digit underdogs? That can't
Yeah.
have happened
That
Too
jump does
often
feel a little
in
disrespectful.
in recent
and
in
wild.
recent years. Like they did what they were supposed to do, obviously against.
It's just
against Carolina.
reflective of two things. One, how bad they view the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers are really that bad that, I think they'd probably be double-digit underdogs to whoever they're playing. Who are they playing this week, and what's the line there? I'm sure it's similar. But also this respect for the Ravens and for their coaching staff and for their ability to bounce back after a tough
They are
loss.
single-digit underdogs to the Saints this week.
Oh, the Saints, right? But the Saints are favored, right? By
Mhm,
how much?
7.
See, yeah, and the Saints are real bad,
Mhm,
and they don't even have their quarterback.
mhm.
So I think that the Ravens are very well respected in NFL circles. John Harbaugh and his ability to get them ready to go, especially after a tough loss against a divisional opponent. You got the MVP, the reigning MVP, 2-time MVP, going for his third, and then you got Derrick Henry, who's one of the most dominant running back in the league. I mean, these things influence odds makers, but the odds makers had the Broncos at 5.5 wins all season. So they're kind of fucked up there, right? So they've been
Mhm.
underestimating the Broncos from the get-go. And so just maybe they're doing the same thing this weekend.
I agree.
There's also just the pushback on Bo Nix, and it's funny because the same day that he gets named AFC Offensive Player or NFL Offensive Rookie of the Month, the 33rd team, which is an outlet mostly comprised, or at least at the top, of former front office types like Mike Tannenbaum and Andrew Brandt, but the guy that wrote it, I didn't know his name. He has Bo Nix as the 29th quarterback in the league currently. On the same day he gets named Offensive Rookie of the Year, where his team goes 3-1. He's involved in 9 touchdowns. I think it was 7-2, only 1 interception. He's only sacked once or twice maybe 3 times that whole stretch of October. So it feels like there's people that still aren't on board with Bo Nix. But then you look at football people like Bill Belichick, and he's talking about the things Sean's doing to maximize what Bo does well. And you got to give Sean credit for trying to lean into the stuff that Bo is doing well. But it feels like people aren't ready. Everybody's on board with Jaden Daniels. They're blaming the Bears on Caleb Williams' inconsistency, not just Caleb being. But Bo, they're like, we'll see. I don't know. People are not ready to buy in.
They're not sold. They're not sold.
They're not believers.
They've won 5 of 6. So look, what else do you fucking want? I mean, it's not, there's a lot. There's a cottage industry out there that judges quarterbacks, rates quarterbacks. These are former quarterbacks, former front office guys who basically aren't in the league anymore for a reason, and who are quantifying and judging the performance of quarterbacks based on numbers like the QBR. What goes into the calculation of the QBR, Brandon?
Time of the game, completion percentage, yardage, a bunch of stuff.
A bunch of stuff that even this guy who knows everything doesn't even fucking know. Nobody knows what goes into these numbers. And they're so contingent upon the performance of everyone else around them, and situations, the offensive line's performance, the receiver being on the same page, the play call and the defense, the time of possession. All these things affect the quarterback's performance. Bo Nix is a rookie, right? Is he perfect? Absolutely not. We've seen that. But we've seen him improving. And so whether or not the 33rd team thinks he's the 29th ranked or whatever it is, he's got these guys believing that they're a playoff team and that he's going to make plays down the stretch to help them win. He dealt from the pocket really good last game. I think Bo Nix is earning the trust of his teammates. That's the most important thing. And when they come together and gel, these young receivers, running backs, whatever, this is going to be a team to be reckoned with. It may not be this year, but in the years to come, I think Broncos fans can feel good about where Bo Nix and this team is going.
So we've heard about, because we heard last year where Will Lutz, his first time in Denver, he goes, and this wasn't new. I guess they'd done it over. He'd certainly done it before. They went down to Empower Field at Mile High on the Thursday before, maybe the first preseason game, because he just wanted to see sight lines in there and get used to kicking in there. Obviously, it's going to be different with fans in the stands. Because of when practice ends and when games are, and I know we're about to have daylight saving time on Saturday.
Is it?
It is. We're going to get an extra hour, though.
Get an extra hour, yeah.
But be ready for your animals and kids to be all jacked up.
Yeah.
Either way.
Animals get jacked up from that?
Big time, like farm animals, especially.
Why?
I think because of the day starts at a different
because
time.
Because they're
now.
like watches going off at a different.
Anyway, and dogs are all messed up. Anyway,
So I better get my cows under control.
You should. You should. Is it too much to think that Bo Nix and Troy Franklin might just go down to the stadium, maybe throw on shoulder pads and a helmet and run go routes on that left side? Because now twice in the last handful of games, and I didn't ask Bo about it this time. I don't even think he could have been like, well, I could have handed it to him. I mean, that the one in the end zone a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
If he says,
I'm trying to think about a sight line on that. There is no sight line but the sky.
No, I'm just saying just to get used to.
Well, what I'm saying is there is no obstructed vision.
Yeah,
on
there's
a
no sun coming
on
in
a
there.
ball coming down from that left side.
There's just
in the
something
middle
going
of the day.
on. There's something going on.
It's just Troy Franklin looking it in.
Yeah.
He's not looking the ball in. He's running really fast. The ball's falling down, and his eyes aren't. I think practicing it at practice would be great.
Then maybe they are.
But do we need to go to the stadium and do it?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I would like to see, but unlocking Troy Franklin and with what Bailey's given you, because you're going to get Josh Reynolds back, at some point too.
What's his prognosis? When's he coming back?
I haven't seen a timeline yet. They haven't opened the window as best I know. So, but Franklin, even Marvin Mims a little, because we kind of know what he is and isn't as a receiver at this point, unless things change. Cortland's going to come up with a crazy catch like he did in the end zone, the one-handed the other day, and is going to be kind of what Tim Patrick gave you, but pretty reliable on 3rd and 4. And look, Cortland was able to make some plays down the field too. But Franklin, and I think just Vele's youth and size, but Franklin especially really changes what you can do with the offense if he's catching the football.
Yep. And I think he's caught the football well in short plays. It's those deep ones that have been difficult for him. I'm interested to see how Cortland Sutton responds this week, because he was called out by Sean Payton. He was yelled at on the field in a lopsided win when he broke 100 yards. But still, he had that fumble on the 1 yard line, and Sean Payton did not like it. He chewed him out on the field. So will Cortland Sutton come out here with a fire under his ass, and getting him out there making plays and being the energetic pace setter for this offense and making a big play right off the bat. If I was Sean Payton calling plays at the beginning of this game, I would get Courtland involved maybe on the first play, like they did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the back shoulder throw down the left-hand sideline, which got the drive rolling and got their momentum going. Go to Courtland early. You're probably going to get some off coverage. Throw him a hitch route or throw him a back shoulder thing or just throw him the ball and get his hands on it early, get him hit early, and then get his momentum going. And I think Courtland Sutton could be a guy who has another big game.
We've also seen a couple times, including at Tampa, where Sean's decided to take the ball if they win the toss. There's a scenario where they defer and you.
That's smart against the Ravens, actually, because they're such a good offense. What you don't want to do is kick them the ball, have them go right down and score, and all of a sudden you're down 7-0 playing from behind. So I think that would be smart to take the ball if you win the toss. Yeah.
Take the damn ball, Sean.
Take the ball, Sean. Relative to
relative to the coin toss.
Yeah.
Take the ball, Sean. We've got a couple comments here. I'll just let the producer choose whatever because I can't see diddly squat. Whoa.
30-23. Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos over the Baltimore.
Yeah.
That just gave me a never mind. I was
What?
going to say something and it wasn't going to come out.
I've also heard people try to minimize this game, saying, "Hey, next week you go to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's a bigger game. That's a division game." And I understand all that, but you've at least broken that streak against the Chiefs. He played well twice against them last year. Part of that was Andy Reid's weird, silly play calling, like snapping it to Kadarius Toney in the inside the 10-yard line instead of just letting Patrick Mahomes hold on to the football. But Andy does that sometimes. So it was 19-9 was the game there. They left a bunch of points on the board against the Chiefs, but still beat him pretty soundly here. So that game does matter. But and if you want to say it matters more, but to dismiss this game and say, oh, they can lose and it's not really going to, they're a team that's going to, the Ravens are going to be one of the top two teams in the AFC, 2 or 3 teams. I think it does matter because if you go in and win, that then changes the narrative, and you're not going to be 9.5-point dogs at the Chiefs next week. If you go in and win, not because it's a bunch of fluky, but you just play hard and you pull out a win, 30-23, 24-23, 20-19, and you kind of keep that offense in check and you can move it a little. That will change the way people are looking at Bo Nix, I would think, and certainly the way they're looking at this team in terms of, point spreads.
It's a very important game. I don't think the Chiefs game is more important. Of course, it's a divisional opponent, so it will end up being very important as far as standings and your attempt to win the division, although they're 7-0 right now. But I think, like, if you want to be the team you want to be, you got to go in and win these games, right? Yep. And so winning a game like this gives you confidence to go in and then beat the Chiefs. It's all one game leads to the next, and you have to prepare for it like it is the only game that fucking matters. Like the Broncos did last week against the Panthers. That's why Sean Payton was so pissed off, because he expected them to put 50 on him, because that's how important that was to him, to plant his flag and have a certain type of performance. The Baltimore Ravens could be a team that the Broncos face in the playoffs. If the Ravens go on a little run here and end up, the second or third seed or whatever, the Broncos squeak in the playoffs, they could be going to Baltimore in week 1 of the playoffs, right? So it's important to go toe-to-toe with these guys, and whether or not you win, of course you want to get the win, but you want to know you can play with these guys. Yeah. And so, yes, the Chiefs game, incredibly important. We know how important this Chiefs are to the Broncos, but this game is a real litmus test. I've heard that being said. And like I said, if you want to be the team you want to be, you got to go in there and play well against this team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've also heard that it's a barometer. We'll talk about how you measure things. Bo Nix tried to downplay. He's like, they're a good team. They're a good team, but they're just the next game on our schedule. And that's fine if you want to say that. And actually, I heard my buddy Big Al saying yesterday that if you get up differently for a different game, then you've got the wrong kind of pros. And it's like, well, that's human nature, dude. Like, there's no way that pick a sport, but if you're the Nuggets and you're playing the Bobcats versus playing the Lakers, you're not going to play the same. Like, you're going to go out and try to win and all of that. But
I do think football is different though than like an 82 game season.
Maybe so. Well, you're probably right.
Yeah, because you're getting hit all the time. And like in basketball, people aren't running full speed at you and putting their chin or their face in your ribs and your,
unless you're playing Draymond Green
or Patrick Beverly.
But they get helmets on and they get to hit you in your ribs, and you are getting attacked in football. Mm-hmm. And so your manhood is being challenged on every play. And if you don't bring it 100%, then you get humiliated. You get your ass kicked, and you have to watch it on film, and you might get. So I think the stakes are higher in each, obviously because there's fewer games, but also because of physically what's at stake in football. It's more of a fight. It's not like you don't go into a boxing match you shouldn't, at least, thinking this guy's going to be an easy fight or he can
Right.
catch you, right? And you can always get caught. And I think football in the NFL is the same way. These guys are all professional football players. They all prepare all week to go win. They all have the same amount of hours that they're spending working. They're watching the same film. They're doing the same plays. Who's going to be better? And if you let up at all, you could go there and get embarrassed.
I think that certain games do matter, but let's go to the other side of the hypothetical. They go in and win.
Yeah.
And then you talk about where the Chiefs are record-wise. That's certainly going to give you a lot of momentum. So let's say they go to Arrowhead and win. I realize saying they're going to win out feels crazy, but if you win these 2 road games, there's no reason that you won't end the year. You might be playing the Chiefs for the division if it shakes out like that. Now the Chiefs need to lose somewhere else along the way so that they're tied in losses, and then you have the tiebreaker.
There's a world where the Bucks on Monday night take down the Chiefs and hand them their first L, and that's a team that the Broncos
I'd like to see
competed
Godwin,
just fine
who's
against
not playing.
Where's that
Mike
game?
Evans
in Geeha.
Freaking Geeha.
and you still have no Mike Evans and no and no Chris Godwin.
Yeah, but they got a dub without those two.
Cade
I know
Otton.
it's different
I thought the
against
Falcons
the
won
Chiefs.
that game.
They did.
Did
Yeah.
they?
I think so.
Yeah, the Bucks were right there. and the
wrong
It
red
was
Falcons-
team.
close. It was close.
It was
Yeah.
close. They came out. And,
Okay,
yeah,
I think I was more.
Cade Otton had a big national tight ends day.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. They still performed
They
well
performed well.
without their best guys,
Look,
but yeah, they
they
did
have
not
Baker
win.
Mayfield, who he can keep you in games. They've got playmakers on defense. The Chiefs seem to let teams stick around. They were losing to the Raiders the other day. The Chiefs did not put anyone away, so it won't blow our minds. I know they play the Bills later. Like, I would think that might be a game they lose more than predicting Tampa wins. But it will be fascinating if the Broncos can win this game to see how the narrative starts to change, especially as they then go to Arrowhead a week later.
Can we throw up that last comment by D-Rock? The Broncos will beat the Edgar Allan Pope out of a Raven.
Nicely
Mile
done.
High Country. Do you know the poem,
Edgar
The Raven?
Allan Poe, yes.
Are you familiar with the poem, The Raven?
Yes.
And he's from
I
Baltimore.
like the way you look at me like, don't do what you're going to do. Talk about that.
Here's a fun.
That is a dinosaur thing, but that happened before I was born.
Well, I went to Mark Twain Elementary, so they were big on poetry and old literature, if you will.
Did you become a fan of Mark Twain?
No.
Yeah, he's a little
Mark
racist
Twain,
for my
I
taste.
think real name was Samuel Clemens.
PK said he was a little racist for my taste.
Was he?
Yeah, just read Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, it's
Well,
not. I mean, it was definitely in
No,
a time
I know
where
it's a different time.
they behaved a little.
He wrote some good books too that
Rudely.
didn't have bad words in them. He was a
Yeah,
good
Edgar
writer.
Allan Poe, native son of Baltimore. Here's a fun trivia question for you. Do you know who the Ravens franchise was, where they came from before they got to Baltimore?
Hmm.
They were another long established NFL franchise.
Mm-mm.
They came from Cleveland. They were the Cleveland Browns. So Ozzie Newsome, who is a Cleveland Browns legend, has
Wow.
run the Ravens forever, and he's technically not in charge now, but he's around all the time. And then the Browns were technically an expansion team, but the NFL kept that name in the city. They picked a new name. So the Browns have just kind of embraced this tradition, and the Ravens have won enough early that they're not having Bernie Kosar, Brian Sipe, or Dave Logan come to Baltimore because it doesn't make
Wow.
any sense. They would actually probably have
The
the
more you
Colts
know.
guys back. And the Indianapolis Colts used to be the Baltimore Colts.
Yep.
Wow.
Jim Irsay's dad in the middle of the night literally loaded up.
That must have happened a long time
Mayflower.
ago, right?
81 was that one. No, the other one was 96 or 97 when the Browns left Cleveland and then got a new team in 99 or maybe
Really?
95.
And the Denver Broncos used to be the
Denver Broncos since 1960.
yeah, they just started here. I was just
Yeah,
throwing that out there.
1960.
I was gonna say, I don't think
They didn't
that's
used to be
ever
anybody.
been a thing.
Nope.
Did I really miss something? Wow. Okay.
But the Washington Senators, if you look up the history, also became both the Twins and the Texas Rangers. Because basically what happened was the Senators became the Rangers or became the Twins, then there was a new team called the Senators that also so the Senators twice
Hmm.
got relocated. Okay.
Well, alrighty.
How do we see this game playing out? Since we're going to do a live watch along on
yeah,
Sunday.
really quickly, let's wrap with kind of some predictions here. Which Broncos players getting in the end zone?
That's a good question. I think
Javonte Williams is gonna have a little bit of a harder time in this one.
yeah, I think Jaleel McLaughlin's going to get in the end zone.
Feels good.
I think
Really?
Bo is going to throw one to Cortland. I think he's going to throw one to
Does-
Lucas Kroll.
Kroll, okay. Say
Freaking A, that was my bet last week.
That was
Vele
yeah.
needs a first career touchdown. But
I wouldn't be
doesn't mean he'll come
surprised
this
there.
week.
I just think about red zone targets, like because when you go, Friday today they're doing their red zone period, And so they, before they go out on the field, they have their red zone package that they're putting in. And there's designated red zone plays that they like, designated goal line plays that they like. They're doing that as well today. And so you kind of know going into the game who the guys are going to get opportunities in the red zone and on the goal line. And I think you'd be stupid not to put Courtland Sutton in that group. But also Devon Vele has that skill. I mean, we've seen him do that at training camp. He was making all kinds of crazy snags. So yeah, I would love to throw him a fade on the 5 or 10 yard line.
I've got a hot take.
Show me.
I think Lil Jordan.
Oh, LJ.
I think LJ ends up in the end zone.
I like that. I like him. I like what he brings to the team. And I think that would be a smart thing to do for Sean Payton because he had close but no cigar last week, right? And there were a couple moments.
I think he has a moment.
Yeah, there was a fumble. Gives you an idea of what Sean thinks. Look, he's a vet and he's made more plays than hurt you. But to fumble early, you're like, okay, is he going to be punished? And he was out there the next drive.
Oh, yeah.
So.
No.
Whereas Troy Franklin,
that's going to be my little hot
drops
take.
one in the end zone, and Troy Franklin's done for the day.
Anytime touchdown score, hot take, Lil Jordan. LJ Humphrey. I'm going.
I won $462 last night on a $5 same game parlay.
Wow.
Well,
and because DraftKings is paying me this week, we'll say that
why don't you start sharing with everybody when you place these fantastic winning bets?
Well, because we've had 3 that lost by one actual thing in the last few weeks. Over $3,000 on $15 worth of bets. Still.
But you're smart to only put $5.
Yeah, because then when you lose,
you're doing the right thing.
If you're betting $1,500 to win $1,500, you'll be sweating more than these lights are making us sweat or making her sweat the alcohol out.
I need all that.
I like that you're repping the Brooklyn Nets now after the Nuggets went in there and snuck one out on them.
Yeah, listen, most of my hat choices are like mostly just fashion statements.
I used to have a lot of hats with bees on them because that was my first initial. So I had a Bruins hat.
So people don't forget, or what is it?
So I could remember. I looked in the mirror. I'm like, oh yeah, B.
That's me, B.
I'm going,
Old
yeah.
Brooklyn
So, okay,
Dodgers.
I'm going LJ Humphrey with a touchdown. And I also think, honestly, a safer bet even at this point in time than taking Courtland Sutton, even though that feels like after 100 receiving yard game and he is Bo's go-to. I think a safer anytime touchdown bet at this point is Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Himself.
Yeah, he's shown that ability to get out of the pocket. Also, you get down on the 1 yard line, you sneak the ball.
Yep.
And there's a variety of ways he can get in there. Yeah.
I wanted to see how the Ravens
go in the back door.
How many different ways could he get in there, Nate?
So the Ravens are just behind the Broncos. They've only allowed 12 sacks.
I love how he keeps reading his laptop while he's like this.
They're running they're running the ball so effectively. They've had so many leads that you're not going to have to pass in obvious pass situations as much as teams that are chasing. Does Nick Bonito get a 7 sack? Which, by the way, Von Miller did not set a record. We found out the Broncos posted it. It's like Simon Fletcher did it in 10 or 13 straight games.
Oh, is there 10 or 13?
Something like that. I can look up the
No, don't do it. Just don't do it.
The post game,
do it.
So that way we know how close he is. Do you want me to wait till Sunday to look it up?
I just don't want you to ever look it up. I don't care to know that.
Okay, well, I do. Now I really want to know. Does Nick Bonito
now because you said something he
does Nick Bonito get a 7th straight sack a game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think he will. I think Nick Bonito's got a nose for the ball right now. It's a challenge with Lamar, no doubt. I mean, these other quarterbacks he's sacking are statues compared to this dude who's probably the best athlete, most dynamic player we've seen in this league in a long time. So, but Lamar missed a couple days of practice. And he's not perfect. And, this Broncos pass rush is really good right now. I think how many sacks do they have? 30, 29? They're close to tops in the league. Zach Allen,
30.
Zach Allen putting a lot of pressure. I see Zach Allen putting pressure up the middle and Lamar having to break the pocket. And there's Nick Bonito having a sack fall in his lap. I think Nick Bonito is going to get another sack.
I'll give you each 3 guesses, and I bet you cannot guess the
fall
team.
Right on top of his lap. It's just,
The Broncos are 2nd in sacks, 1st in the AFC. So that gives you 16 teams to choose from. I'm going to give you each 2 picks. Who do you think leads the NFL in sacks?
The Broncos.
TJ Watt?
No, which team?
How many the Broncos have?
The Broncos have 30.
Yeah, and they're 3rd?
And they're 2nd.
They're 2nd. So who's number 1?
And the Broncos are number 1 in last night the Jets passed them, and now they're at 31. But so going into the week, the Broncos were 2nd in the league, 1st in the AFC. So you have 16 teams to choose from. This team has 35 sacks. I give you each 2 choices. You can go
in the AFC.
So you can go first, or you can pick 2nd and 3rd. You want to go 2nd and 3rd, or you want to go 1st and 4th?
I want to guess first.
Okay, who do you think?
The first team.
Who do you think is leading the NFL in sacks? But I even gave you a hint. They're in the NFC.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, you go first, and you get the next 2.
It's the Lions.
Not the Lions.
The NFC. not the Bills.
Well, they're in the
They're in
AFC,
the
so
AFC.
we
Oh.
agree.
Yeah. Okay, so give me another chance. Hold on.
Niners?
Not the Niners. Those are your two guesses.
Let's see.
Who could it be?
Yeah, I'm like it's got to be someone that's I would assume at the top of their division.
That's what I would assume too.
But it's not. Huh?
It's not.
Really?
The New York Football Giants have 35 sacks on the year,
Wow. Interesting.
Say
and they're
what?
garbage.
Yeah, that's
What-
very shocking. I would never have
when I
guessed
looked it up
that.
the other day because I thought that the Broncos were number one in the league, and I was like, let me go check that. They're number one in the AFC until last night. So if they get 2 sacks, they will then jump.
That's
ahead of the
that's
Ravens.
very surprising.
But it
so they're
was-
first, Broncos second. Who's third and fourth?
Well, the Jets just jumped up.
You said Jets are
Ahead of 'em.
third.
The Jets are now second at 31. The Broncos are second. Where did the sacks go? Texans 29 now through last night. Ravens are right there at 24. So
Mhm.
these are all now we're getting good teams. Vikings, Commanders. Although the Browns with
Yeah, I
Myles
would
Garrett,
not have
Shelby
guessed
Harris.
Giants at
Yeah,
all.
They're pretty bad.
we would have gone through 16 NFC teams, and they would have been my guesses 14 through 16. But
Although on Monday night when the Giants played, who did they play?
Eagles,
The Steelers.
Steelers. Oh yeah,
I
and
went
Russ.
down. I was down 22 points in my fantasy team, in my
Mhm.
fantasy game, and I had one guy going in that game, and it was Tyrone Tracy Jr. And he ended up scoring like 22.2 points, and I won my fantasy competition by like 0.32
Relative
points.
to
It was one of the more
decimals.
That's
satisfying.
very sad. The less than
fantasy
1 point
culmination.
fantasy win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
yeah, that'll jazz
okay.
you up.
Von Miller was the last to do it before Nick Bonito. He had 6 in a row and 6 straight games in 18. Nick Bonito has now tied that. Simon Fletcher twice. In 92, he had a sack in 10 straight games. In 91, he had a sack in 8 straight games. So those are your records. 8 would be second, 10 games in a row. So he has to get one this week or the streak is broken.
Can you throw that last comment up there? It basically says, if the Giants lead that stat, tells me that stat is not that important.
Well, and pressures, I think, is one that matters too. And so that's where you look. Zach Allen's leading the league in pressures, but some coaches will tell you that sacks don't matter. The interesting thing about the Giants is that they haven't necessarily been playing with a lead, and they're still getting to the quarterback.
But it also tells me that teams just want to throw on the Giants because they don't respect their secondary, and they think that they are vulnerable, and so they're dropping back a lot and giving
Could
them
be.
a lot of opportunities.
that their pass defense
to
just
their
isn't
D-line.
good, not because they have the lead and they're running the ball.
Right.
Yeah. So just fun fact. So, but yes, we do think Nick Bonito gets a sack. You said yes.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a sack. He's going to keep it going.
Let's say yes.
And what about?
Because
do you
we
think-
also don't know how banged up Lamar really is.
Yeah, back in
Right.
practice today, but if you
You
got
know,
knees in
like
the back,
Nate said, he could be moving a little slower. He could be a little
now slower
you
for
know,
him is
Right.
Still
Slower for
very
him is still fast. Let's be very clear on that. But if he, depending on how banged up he is, we may see.
if there was a race between the fastest quarterbacks of all time, a straight 100-meter dash, I think Lamar is faster than Michael Vick, and Kyler's probably third.
What about Daniel Jones?
And I'll see where Jaden Daniels is. Daniel Jones is behind
Pretty
Bo
fast.
Nix now.
What do you mean?
I just think Bo Nix is faster than Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is pretty fast. Straight line.
But so who do you think? Now, you didn't watch Mike Vick play a lot. There's no question doing this stuff that you see Kyler do kind of more than anybody.
Mhm.
Mike Vick was on it. And then the acceleration after, you kind of look like Tyreek Hill does, where like stop, start, and like, oh, holy cow, what was that? But in a straight line, I feel like Lamar and Jaden Daniels might actually be faster than Mike Vick in a straight line.
I think Jaden Daniels has a very high
And
ceiling.
he's longer strided.
I think if
Mhm.
Shedeur Sanders had his dad's speed, he would be at the top of this list. But
So you're saying if he was faster, then he'd be faster?
I'm saying if he would have gotten his dad's speed instead of his mom's, he'd be in this conversation.
Okay, cool. Should we get predictions on who's going to win this game?
Yes.
Can we do that? Are we into that?
I think I'm going Broncos.
Broncos are going to win? What can I get a score?
Let's go 21-17.
Love it. BK?
I think the Ravens win coming off a loss. I won't be surprised. It won't blow my mind if the Broncos win. I'm picking the Ravens to win in that like 20-17 range as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very close game. The Ravens seem to
Yeah, Broncos are covering.
have had these games where they win at the very end, and I think this could be one of those.
Or they lost to the shitty Raiders in week 2 and knocked everybody out of survivor pools.
Can I do my prediction?
Yeah.
Thanks.
If you're ready.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos do win, but I think the Ravens are going to win by a point, 25-24.
Ugh, that's so rude.
Is Tucker kicking a field goal to win it?
Yep, he is.
So I'm the only one thinking the Broncos might do some.
I think they're going to win. I want them to win.
We're not like, oh, you're dead wrong. They're definitely going to lose. We're just not picking them to win. It's not like other weeks where I don't know how they win this game, or I don't know how they lose this game, and then it goes the other way.
Last comment says Cody Barton causes a fumble, seals the Broncos' victory. 32. Wait. Oh no.
Broncos 32,
32,
Ravens
27.
27.
Wait. Oh, causes a fumble and
And that seals the victory.
Seals the victory for the other team.
No, seals the
Oh
Broncos.
no.
victory.
Okay, I
Cody
couldn't read
Barton
it.
plays linebacker.
I thought it was 37. Gosh,
And it's in all
that's
caps
far away.
too.
Yeah.
You
Sorry.
okay?
I'm sorry.
You doing
I'm sorry.
all right?
I thought I said 37.
I'm worried
Not
about you.
27.
The numbers are
I
capitalized.
like
too.
that though. I like Cody Barton being the hero.
Yeah, that could be something.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, Nate, I think in order for the Broncos to even compete in this game, but especially win, there's got to be big plays that happen in this one for sure. So that would be an example of a big play.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this last comment says they're just being realistic. Liv, LOL. It's called being a hater. Just kidding. Okay. This has been another episode of Off Court. I'm Liv Moods. This is
Off field
BK.
also. Both.
Wow. Are you okay?
She's Liv Moods. I'm BK. He's Nate Jackson. Sunday, we'll be with you at 11 o'clock. Burritos, tequila.
Watch along.
Because
Everyone has multiple devices in their laps in the game. Boom, boom. Make sure one of those devices is tuned in to Guerrilla Sports Watch Along. Let's have some fun and watch the Broncos win, right?
Exactly. If you got a DVR, you'll hit pause like for 2 seconds. You'll be caught up. We'll be watching it in real time together.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Off field.